Booster jabs seem to be a great way to give people that extra layer of protection, but do you think it's the right thing that we don't give out a fourth booster?
Well, clearly I'm not going to second guess the JCVI, Deanna, because they have been advising governments right throughout this process, and I think that they have looked at the efficacy of the third booster and have decided that there's no need to have a fourth booster. I think that would be generally welcomed by the population, because a lot of people thought we were going to be in boosterism for the next number of years. So the fact that they've said that they don't think there's a need for that, I think will be warmly welcomed by people right across the UK.
Mm. Paul, what's your stance on this? Because we've had discussion already on the show in the past about getting vaccines out to other nations, some of those who perhaps haven't been as quick off the mark, some of those poorer nations around the world. Do you think that these two kind of go hand in hand?
To a certain degree. I mean, the question I would ask is, and Arlene touched on it, where does the whole thing end? You know, are we saying that we are going to potentially have boosters every 6 months, and if you don't have the latest booster, you're regarded as not fully vaccinated, with all of the impingements on your own freedoms and ability to travel abroad, etc. So, you know, if we are saying that we're going to have to wait for some kind of blockbuster vaccine, which is going to clear this whole thing up, and only then will we be back to normal, then that would concern me. I mean, you do obviously have to follow the science on these things. And if the experts in this case are saying, look, it's not absolutely necessary at the moment, even for the most vulnerable, to have a fourth booster, then, you know, who are we to suggest that they're wrong on that? I mean, I have to say, I think that is in many respects an important point, because some of us argued at the very outset there should be a more targeted approach to this, actually, that, you know, COVID, whilst it was serious for some people, for the vast majority of the population, it has never really posed a serious threat. So from the outset, instead of taking this blanket approach of lockdown, what we should have done is targeted resources at more vulnerable people. And if this kickstarts that debate, and if that's a way to introducing what I would say is that more sensible approach in the future, then that won't necessarily be a bad thing, I think.
I think fundamentally it's fantastic to show that the vaccine is so effective, particularly with that booster dose. I think my concern is, you know, obviously we get very concerned when new variants start emerging, usually from elsewhere in the world. And I think, you know, there is some kind of speculation that the only way we're going to stop those new variants in their tracks is by getting vaccines out to, you know, places like South Africa, for example, where we saw Omicron emerge from. I suppose by not doing a fourth jab, that means that some of those stocks can be sent out to some of those other nations. Arlene, what do you reckon?
No, I think that is an important point. And I mean, some people have been very vocal on this. Gordon Brown, as you know, the former Prime Minister, has been saying for quite some time that we do need to look to the rest of the world. And of course, Omicron started because there were people who were immunosuppressed, if I can get it out, that actually the COVID virus then changed and became the Omicron variant. And then that spread and became very transmissible. So we do need to look to the rest of the world, because we live in a village, as we know. People travel all the time, and therefore what happens in South Africa one day will happen in the UK the very next day, or within a very short period of time. So we do need to look at the global village that we live in, and to deal with all of those problems as well.